4.22. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Sakyans at Silavati. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Samyutta was dwelling not far from the Blessed One, diligent, ardent and resolute. Then while the Venerable Samyutta was alone in seclusion, the reflection arose in his mind thus: "It is indeed a gain for me. It is well gained by me that my teacher is the Arahant, Mara-samyutta. It is indeed a gain for me. It is well gained by me that I have gone forth in this well-expounded Dhammavuddho. It is indeed a gain for me. It is well gained by me that my companions in the holy life are virtuous, of good character." Stop here for a moment. So here we see the Venerable Samyutta. He realized that he was so lucky to have such a good teacher, Mara-samyutta for his teacher, and his the Dhammavuddho of the Buddha is so good, and the Sangha, the companions in the holy life, are so virtuous. So he was very, very happy. Then Mara, the evil one, having known with his own mind the reflection in the mind of the Venerable Samyutta, approached him, and not far from him made a loud noise, frightful and terrifying, as though the earth was splitting open. Then the Venerable Samyutta approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and reported what had happened. The Blessed One said, "That was not the earth splitting open, Samyutta. That was Mara, the evil one, who had come in order to confound you. Go back, Samyutta, and dwell diligent, ardent and resolute." One moment. Maybe this Venerable Samyutta was not yet an Arahant, but he was practicing very hard to become enlightened. So maybe Mara came to disturb him, frighten him to stop his practice. "Yes, Venerable Sir," the Venerable Samyutta replied. Then he rose from his seat, paid homage to the Blessed One, and departed, keeping him on the right. The second time, while the Venerable Samyutta was alone in seclusion, a reflection arose in his mind that he was, as mentioned before, he had this thought: "It is indeed a gain for me. It is well gained by me that my teacher is the Arahant Mara-samyutta. It is indeed a gain for me. It is well gained by me that I have gone forth in this well-expounded Dhammavuddho. It is indeed a gain for me. It is well gained by me that my companions in the holy life are virtuous of good character." So here he's thinking, he was praising the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And the second time, Mara, the evil one, came and made a loud noise, frightful and terrifying, as though the earth was splitting open. Then the Venerable Samyutta, having understood this is Mara, the evil one, addressed him in verse: "Have gone forth out of faith from the home to the homeless life. My mindfulness and wisdom are mature, and my mind well concentrated. Conjure up whatever forms you wish, but you will never make me tremble." Then Mara, the evil one, realizing the monk Samyutta knows me, sad and disappointed, disappeared right there. That's the end of the sutta. So here it might be also that Venerable Samyutta was already an Arahant, not so sure. Because here he says his mindfulness and wisdom are mature, his mind well concentrated. Next sutta, 4.23. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Godika was dwelling on the black slope on the east, on the black rock on the Isigili slope. Then while the Venerable Godika was dwelling diligent, ardent and resolute, he reached temporary liberation of mind, but he fell away from that temporary liberation of mind. The second time, while the Venerable Godika was dwelling diligent, ardent and resolute, he reached temporary liberation of mind, but he fell away from that temporary liberation of mind. And the third time, and the fourth time, and the fifth time, and the sixth time, while the Venerable Godika was dwelling diligent, ardent and resolute, he reached temporary liberation of mind, but he fell away from that temporary liberation of mind. The seventh time, while the Venerable Godika was dwelling diligent, ardent and resolute, he reached temporary liberation of mind, Then it occurred to the Venerable Godika, 6 times already I have fallen away from temporary liberation of mind. Let me use the knife. Then Mara, the evil one, having known with his own mind the reflection in the Venerable Godika's mind, approached the Blessed One and addressed him with these verses. O great hero, great in wisdom, blazing forth with power and glory, I worship your feet, one with vision, who has overcome all enmity and fear. O great hero, who has vanquished death, your disciple is longing for death. He intends to take his own life. Restrain him from this, O luminous one. How, O blessed one, can your disciple, one delighting in the teaching, a trainee seeking his mind's ideal, take his own life, O widely famed? Now on that occasion, the Venerable Godika had just used the knife. Then the Blessed One, having understood this is Mara, the evil one, addressed him in verse. Such indeed is how the steadfast act. They are not attached to life. Having drawn out craving with its root, Godika has attained final Nibbana. I'll stop here for a moment. So here, this Venerable Godika, he was practicing very diligently. And it's mentioned here that 6 times he tried to attain temporary liberation of mind. He attained it for a short while, but fell out of that state. 6 times he fell out of that state. The 7th time, I think he attained that state. So after that, he decided to commit suicide. And Mara came to tell the Buddha to stop him. But the Buddha did not stop him. So after that, Venerable Godika committed suicide. This temporary liberation of mind, according to the commentaries, refers to the mundane jhanas, some states of concentration. He attained states of concentration but fell out of it. But for him to commit suicide, and the Buddha did not restrain him, I feel that probably he had already attained arahanthood. So if he had already attained arahanthood, then it could be that the temporary liberation of mind is the cessation of perception and feeling. The cessation of perception and feeling also means the cessation of consciousness. A state of parinibbana, when an arahant passes away, it is the state where all the consciousness ceases, the 6 consciousness. So, because probably his body was sick, he was not well, he could attain it for a while, but because he was not strong, he fell out of the state. So, there are a few instances of this in the suttas and the Vinaya, where sometimes the monk is very sick and he decides to commit suicide. And the Buddha knows that he is an arahant. The Buddha does not restrain him from committing suicide because he has finished his work. And as the Buddha says here, that they are not attached to life. Such indeed is how the steadfast act. They are not attached to life. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, "Come monks, let us go to the black rock on the Isigili slope, where the clansman Godika has used the knife." "Yes, Venerable Sir," those monks replied. Then the Blessed One, together with a number of monks, went to the black rock on the Isigili slope. The Blessed One saw in the distance the Venerable Godika lying on the bed with his shoulder turned. So on that occasion, a cloud of smoke, a swirl of darkness, was moving to the east, then to the west, to the north, to the south, upwards, downwards, into the intermediate quarters. The Blessed One then addressed the monks thus, "Do you see, monks, that cloud of smoke, that swirl of darkness, moving to the east, then to the west, to the north, to the south, upwards, downwards, and to the intermediate quarters?" "Yes, Venerable Sir," they replied. "That, monks, is Mara, the evil one, searching for the consciousness of the clansman Godika, wondering, where now has the consciousness of the clansman Godika been established? However, monks, With consciousness unestablished, the clansman Godika has attained final Nibbana. Then Mara, the evil one, taking a lute of yellow vilva wood, approached the Blessed One and addressed him in verse. Above, below and across, in the four quarters and in between, I have been searching but do not find where Godika has gone. And the Buddha said, that steadfast man was resolute, a meditator always rejoicing in meditation, applying himself day and night, without attachment even to life, having conquered the army of death, not returning to renewed existence, having drawn out craving with its root, Godika has attained final Nibbana. So much was he stricken with sorrow that his lute dropped from his armpit. Thereupon that disappointed spirit disappeared right on the spot. So here you see, after this Venerable Godika passed away, Mara was looking for his consciousness where he was reborn. He was going all over the place, but the Buddha said, Mara cannot find his consciousness because his consciousness is unestablished, is no more established in anywhere, in any body. That is the state of an Arahant. After he passes away, the consciousness, the sixth consciousness stops. It's unlike the Mahayana Sutras, which says that the Arahant have not finished their work. They still have to come back. No such thing. In the earlier suttas, the Buddha and the Arahant disciples, all when they pass away, their consciousness, sixth consciousness ceases. They enter Nibbana. So this is interesting sutta where a monk commits suicide. But the Buddha says there is no fault. If a monk commits suicide, provided he has finished his work, then the Buddha, sometimes the Buddha says, even before he commits suicide, the Buddha tells him, whatever you want to do, don't worry, it's blameless. But on the other hand, if a person has not attained enlightenment, has not finished his work, then the Buddha says that even if you are very sick, even you have a lot of pain, bear it, because human life is very hard to get. So human life is the only realm of rebirth where we can practice hard to get out of samsara. So even if we are very sick, we should hold on to life because if we have life, then we still have time to practice to end this round of rebirths. 4.24. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Uruvela on the bank of the river Naranjara at the foot of the goat herd's banyan tree. On that occasion, Mara, the evil one, had been following the Blessed One for 7 years, seeking to gain access to him but without success. Then Mara, the evil one, approached the Blessed One and addressed him in verse. Is it because you are sunk in sorrow that you meditate in the woods? Because you have lost wealth or pined for it, or committed some crime in the village? Why don't you make friends with people? Why don't you form any intimate ties? And the Buddha said, having dug up entirely the root of sorrow, guiltless, I meditate free from sorrow. Having cut off all greedy urge for existence, I meditate taintless or asabha-less, O kinsman of the negligent. And Mara said, that of which they say it's mine, and those who speak in terms of mine. If your mind exists among these, you won't escape me, ascetic. And the Blessed One said, that which they speak of is not mine. I'm not one of those who speak of mine. You should know thus, O evil one, even my path you will not see. And Mara said, if you have discovered the path, the secure way leading to the deathless, be off and walk that path alone. What's the point of instructing others? And the Buddha said, those people going to the far shore, ask what lies beyond death's realm. When asked, I explain to them the truth about acquisitions or attachments. I'll stop here for a moment. So here you see, Mara is saying, if you have discovered the path, the way leading to the deathless. You go and walk the path alone. Why you want to instruct others? So Mara does not like the Buddha to teach the Dhamma to others. Then Mara said, suppose, Venerable Sir, not far from a village or a town, there was a lotus pond in which a crab was living. Then a group of boys and girls would leave the village or town and go to that pond. They would pull the crab out from the water and set it down on high ground. Then whenever that crab would extend one of its claws, those boys and girls would cut it off, break it, and smash it to bits with sticks and stones. Thus, when all its claws have been cut off, broken, and smashed to bits, that crab would be unable to return to that pond. So too, Venerable Sir, all those distortions, maneuvers, and contortions of mind have been cut off, broken, and smashed to bits by the Blessed One. Now, Venerable Sir, I am unable to approach the Blessed One again, seeking to gain access to him. Then Mara, the evil one, in the presence of the Blessed One, recited these verses of disappointment. There was a crow that walked around, a stone that looked like a lump of fat. Let's find something tender here, he thought. Perhaps there's something nice and tasty. But because he found nothing tasty there, the crow departed from that spot. Just like the crow that attacked the stone, we leave Gautama disappointed. That's the end of the sutta. So in this sutta, you see, Mara had been following the Buddha for 7 years, trying to influence the Buddha's mind, but he was not successful. So after so many years of effort, he finally decided to give up. That's why he said, just like a crab, some children, they take delight in killing the crab. But before killing the crab, they smash all its feet. Anytime the crab extends a foot out, they will smash it. So in the same way, Mara said, each time he tried his tricks on the Buddha would smash his tricks. So finally he decided that enough. He departed just like that crow, disappointed that there was no meat in that stone. The next sutta is connected to this one, 4.25. Then Mara, the evil one, having spoken these verses of disappointment in the presence of the Blessed One, went away from that spot and sat down cross-legged on the ground, not far from the Blessed One, silent, dismayed, with his shoulders drooping, downcast, brooding, unable to speak, scratching the ground with a stick. Then Mara's daughters, Tanha, Arati, and Raga, approached Mara, the evil one, and addressed him in verse. Why are you despondent, father? Who's the man for whom you grieve? We will catch him with the snare of lust, as they catch the forest elephant. We will bind him tightly and bring him back, and he will be under your control. Let's stop here for a moment. These 3 daughters of Mara, because they come from the 6th heaven, the highest heaven in the sensual desire realm, they must be very beautiful. So they told the father Mara that if you can't catch the man, we will catch him for you, using lust. Make him have sensual desire, then we can catch him. And the Buddha said, the Arahant, the fortunate one in the world, is not easily drawn by means of lust. He has gone beyond Mara's realm. Therefore, I sorrow so bitterly. So Mara is saying that he is very bitter. He tried all ways to trick the Buddha, but was not successful. Then Mara's daughters, Tanha, Arati, and Raga, approached the Blessed One and said to him, we serve at your feet, ascetic. But the Blessed One paid no attention, as he was liberated in the unsurpassed extinction of acquisitions or extinction of attachments. Then Mara's daughters, Tanha, Arati, and Raga, went off to the side and took counsel and discussed. Men's stays are diverse. Suppose we each manifest ourselves in the form of 100 maidens. Then Mara's 3 daughters, each manifesting herself in the form of 100 maidens, approached the Blessed One and said to him, we serve at your feet, ascetic. But the Blessed One paid no attention, as he was liberated in the unsurpassed extinction of acquisitions or extinction of attachments. I'll stop here for a while. So here Mara's three daughters, they tried to tempt the Buddha, but the Buddha did not even bother to look at them, not interested. Then they decided, after discussing, that each one of them will transform into 100 young girls, all of different looks. So want to tempt the Buddha. So when they manifested in this way, again the Buddha did not bother to look at them, not interested at all. An ordinary person is, as we say, tak boleh tahan, cannot bear it, all these beautiful girls. Then Mara's daughters went off to the side and again took counsel. Men's tastes are diverse. Suppose we each manifest ourselves in the form of 100 women who have never given birth. Then Mara's three daughters, each manifesting herself in the form of 100 women who have never given birth. And then later in the form of 100 women who have given birth once. And later in the form of 100 women who have given birth twice. And later in the form of 100 women of middle age. And later in the form of 100 old women, approached the Blessed One and said to him, "We serve at your feet, ascetic." But the Blessed One paid no attention as he was liberated in the unsurpassed extinction of acquisitions or extinction of attachments. I'll stop here for a moment. So these Mara's three daughters, after manifesting themselves as young girls, they thought that the Buddha was not interested. Then they thought maybe he prefers older women. So they start to transform themselves in different shapes. Some are slightly older, and some later has given birth once, and later given birth twice, middle age, old age, all forms. Also the Buddha was not interested. Then Mara's daughters, Tanha, Arati and Raga, went off to the side and said, "What our father said is true. The Arahant, the fortunate one in the world." They repeated what Mara said. If we had assailed with such tactics any ascetic or brahmana, a holy man, who was not devoid of lust, either his heart would have burst, or he would have vomited hot blood from his mouth, or he would have gone mad, or become mentally deranged, or else he would have dried up and withered away and become shriveled, just as a green reed that has been mowed down and dry up and wither away and become shriveled. Stop here for a moment. So here they said if any other person who is not devoid of lust, who still has lust, if we tempt him in this way, his heart would have burst, or he would have vomited blood, or he would have become mad, etc. Then Mara's daughters, Tanha, Arati and Raga, approached the Blessed One and stood to one side. Standing to one side, Mara's daughter, Tanha, addressed the Blessed One in verse. "Is it because you are sunk in sorrow that you meditate in the woods? Because you have lost wealth or pined for it, or committed some crime in the village? Why don't you make friends with people? Why don't you form any intimate ties?" And the Buddha said, "Having conquered the army of the pleasant and agreeable, meditating alone, I discovered bliss. The attainment of the goal, the peace of the heart. Therefore, I don't make friends with people, nor will I form any intimate ties." Then Mara's daughter, Arati, addressed the Blessed One in verse. "How does a monk here often dwell? That 5 floods crossed, he here has crossed the 6th. How does he meditate? So sensual perceptions are kept at bay and fail to grip him." And the Buddha said, "Tranquil in body, in mind well liberated, not generating, mindful, homeless, knowing Dhamma, meditating thought-free, he does not erupt or drift or stiffen. When a monk here often dwells thus, with 5 floods crossed, he here has crossed the 6th. When he meditates thus, sensual perceptions are kept at bay and fail to grip him." Then Mara's daughter Raga addressed the Blessed One in verse. "He has cut off craving, faring with his group and order, Surely many other beings will cross. Alas, this homeless one will snatch many people and lead them away beyond the king of death. And the Buddha said, truly the Tathagatas, the great heroes, lead by means of the true Dhamma. When they are leading by means of the Dhamma, what envy can there be in those who understand? Then Mara's daughters, Tanha, Arati and Raga, approached the evil one. Mara saw them coming in the distance and addressed them in verses. Fools, you try to batter a mountain with the stalks of lotus flowers, or to dig up a mountain with your nails, or to chew iron with your teeth. As if having lifted a rock with your head, you sought a foothold in the abyss. As if you struck a stump with your breast, you part from Gautama disappointed. They had come to him glittering with beauty, Tanha, Arati and Raga, but the teacher swept them away right there, as the wind a fallen cotton tuft. So here, finally, after they failed to tempt the Buddha, then the three daughters of Mara asked him, the first one asked him, why do you live alone? Why don't you make friends with people? And the Buddha says, he has attained the bliss of liberation. There's no need to make friends with people. Another daughter asked him how to cross the floods. That means to go over to the other shore to be liberated. And the Buddha says, mindful, homeless, meditating thought-free. To meditate thought-free means to attain the state where thoughts stop, and that is the second jhana and above. The mind is so concentrated and thoughts cannot arise. And then sensual perceptions are kept at bay and cannot grip that meditator. Then the third one said that such a enlightened person like the Buddha will snatch many people away from the king of death. The king of death is can be said to be Mara. So the Buddha said, it's true the Tathagatas lead by the Dhamma, lead people over to the other shore. But why should we be jealous? So when the three daughters went back to Mara, then the Mara scolded them. You try to influence the Buddha. It's like trying to batter a mountain with lotus flowers, or to chew iron with your teeth. So they were all disappointed. The Buddha and the Arahants, their mind is so steadfast, they cannot be influenced in this way. That's the end of the Mara-samyutta. So I think we can stop here tonight. Then if you have anything to discuss, we can discuss. Any questions? Yeah. Yes, contradictory that the Mara can tempt the Buddha and other times show respect. Actually, somebody like Mara, to be reborn as Mara, to reborn in the sixth heaven, the sixth heaven in the sensual desire realm shows that his blessings are extremely high. And I would think that Mara must have been a cultivator, a monk or an ascetic in the past, that he can be reborn there. Probably he has attained 1 or 2 or 3 jhanas, but did not constantly abide in jhana. That's why he's reborn in the sensual realm. If a person attains jhana and constantly abides in that jhana, then he'll be reborn in the jhana planes, the form realm. But, people change. After being reborn as Mara, because he has so much power that the ego goes to his head. So then when some ascetic or cultivator practices and is near to enlightenment, because of jealousy, he comes to disturb. But he has a lot of virtue to be reborn up there. So that's why there are times when he's not jealous, that he has respect for the Buddha, and other times his jealousy gets the better of him and tries to obstruct the Buddha and his disciples. It's the same with most people, most of us. We have good karma, we have evil karma. We have the good side of us and we have the evil side of us. So it's only thing is we are mindful and we watch and we try to get rid of our defilements. So far, the few Samyuttas we have dealt with, we haven't come to solid Dhamma yet. Later we'll come to a very solid Dhamma. These suttas are in the Samyutta Nikaya only because they are grouped together, like Devata Samyutta. All the suttas concerning Devas, they are grouped together in this one. Or concerning Mara, so it's grouped together. So you only have a bit of Dhamma sometimes in the suttas. Not much Dhamma yet, but later we'll come to those suttas which are heavy going. Because all the suttas concerning the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, the important suttas, are all found inside here, the Samyutta Nikaya. Okay, there's no question. We will transfer merit. Okay, I just want to say one last thing here, because we are on this Mara-samyutta, that quite often we are actually influenced by Mara. Not necessarily the Mara that comes from the 6th heaven in the sensual desire realm, but the Mara inside us. Mara of greed, hatred and delusion very often influences our mind. Especially if our meditation is not good, we don't meditate often, our 5 hindrances are very strong. Sensual desire, anger, sloth and torpor, making us lazy, and restlessness, making us always restless, and doubt. So these 5 maras inside us are a great hindrance. And when they influence our mind, either we do unwholesome karma or we fail to do wholesome karma. What we should do, we don't do. What we should not do, we do. For example, indulging in sensual pleasures which are wrong, adultery and all that, or getting angry when we should not get angry, having a big temper, and because when we are angry, we do the wrong things, we say the wrong things, etc. And then sloth and torpor making us lazy, wasting our life instead of leading our life fruitfully. The Buddha says diligence, energetic effort is something that we should cultivate to obtain happiness in this lifetime and to obtain happiness in the next future lifetimes. But because of sloth and torpor, we are lazy. We don't put in effort where we should put in effort. And then restlessness. Instead of being tranquil, we are restless. And because of restlessness, we use our energy in the wrong ways. And then doubt. So there are still others, for example, wanting to indulge in sights, wanting to see beautiful forms, wanting to go touring, wasting our time, going touring here, touring there, overseas, going for holidays, enjoying, or want to indulge in nice sounds. Some people like to hear good music, spend a lot of their energy indulging in good music. Or some people want to indulge in taste, want to eat good food, indulging in food so much that they sometimes their body becomes unhealthy because they are overweight and all these things. So all these are Mara tempting us, influencing our mind. As I mentioned just now, don't put the blame on all those factors. You have a free mind. You have volition, free will to exercise. And if we don't use our free will the right way, then later we have to pay for it. As I read somewhere before, that in life, life is like a credit card. We enjoy and pay later with tears. And we have to suffer. So don't put the blame elsewhere. Always remember, however much Mara tempts us in whatever way, the choice is up to us. If you use your wisdom factor more, then do what you should do, and don't do what you will regret later. So the Dhamma is our guide. We take the advice given to us by the Buddha and practice the right way. Lead our life skillfully instead of unskillfully. A lot of people lead their lives unskillfully, and at the end of the life, they regret so many things they should have done, they did not do. So many things that they should not have done, they did. So we live by the Dhamma, we will never regret. And always remember, energetic effort, the Buddha says, will benefit you this life and future lifetimes. So always remember, don't put the blame on Mara or on anyone else. We have our own free will. That's all I want to say.